What's going on, everybody? Brandon Charleston here. It's been a while since I posted a recent video, but I'm back, and all the moving and things like that is past now, in a new room, in a new office. But I wanted to post a quick video because I think it's pretty exciting of what's going on in the world besides all the things in the United States with the election, things like that. But Grok is definitely one of the LLMs. Obviously, Elon Musk has started. It's been wildly populated on x.com. I don't know if you've played with it much, but if you're on x.com, it's definitely got some humor and a very unique twist in terms of being able to create images and things like that. So I think it's definitely something to be aware of if you're not already playing with a lot of different AI models. Some will say that, it's just another large language model that just comes out because it seems like AI is just always obviously innovating every single day and things like that. And GPT-4o Mini still, in my opinion, is one of the best LLMs because it's just wildly cheap and there's no reason to really use another one unless it has a very specific use case, especially for things like Clay and a lot of things with AI and automation where data is not really huge. You're just kind of doing small prompts, things like that. And so one of the things here about Grok is if you haven't already played with it, but it's definitely got a creative twist. And so I'm going to be playing with it a lot more, and I'll report back on some of my findings and things like that. But one of their newest things here they just announced just recently is they have a public API now. So essentially, if you have access now to Grok to do in third-party apps like Clay and N8N and things like that. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can implement it now, and then the template will be in the job description, but in the YouTube description below if you want to implement that into your workflow. If you haven't already signed up with Clay, essentially you can also get 3,000 bonus credits when you sign up for a plan through the link below as well. So with that, they have a public beta, and so one cool offer, which to me is like, why not? But essentially they are giving you free credits. Just like any new API, they want to test it out, kind of see what happens, outside their platform. And so they're going to be running the public beta program through the end of the year. And then you're going to get $25 in free credits per month to test it out. I went ahead and just like this, I threw an additional $50. So they're essentially going to match whatever you give. So you get, plenty of free credits, right? And so definitely check out the docs, right? So when you go into the docs, just like any API reference, you want to be familiar with their endpoints. And so you want to read it as far as getting started. Clearly the Grok beta. I'm not sure if this is definitely not Grok 2. Grok 2 is one of their newest ones, which is pretty good. It'll be nice when they have Grok 2, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of responses we get, which we'll go through live here. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I just figured I'd record a video and kind of see what we get on the fly. So strap on. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to create an API key, and I'm just going to go ahead and create one. And obviously if there is, I don't care what the API key is because it's going to be refreshed anyway. So it is what it is. But essentially, you can see here that we want to do a curl request, right? You have your headers with your API key, and then we're going to populate this JSON here into our HTTP API request for something like Clay, right? The other thing that you want to make aware or make note of is I didn't really find anything in here in terms of actual limitations because the thing about Clay that is unique than any other web app is concurrent rate limits. You're going to be bouncing off the rev limiters pretty often when you're using platforms like Clay, just because with the number of rows in a table form, you're going to be running, obviously rows concurrently. And so sometimes you'll either get errored out or things like that. So that's something to be aware of. I did find it somewhere here. So if we go to console, we can see that, let's see here. I think it was 1 every 60. Let's see. What was it? I think it was 1 every 60, one request every second or something like that. So we'll find out. We'll find out what it is. But I threw $50 at it, and then they matched me. So I have $75 in free credits. Like, all right, cool. That works. All right. So we're going to go back to the docs. And we are going to look at the endpoints. So what we want to do is we're going to go chat completions. Completions. Let's see here. And where is it? Actually, the intro might just be good enough. Okay, so making requests. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to start a new table, and we're just going to fill in some information here. We'll just put me in just for SNGs. All right. Okay, cool. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the HTTP API request. And we're going to bring this up. If you're not familiar with this, this is essentially the keys to the internet for you to be able to do any sort of API call for any service that is not directly natively integrated with xAI. xAI, if you haven't been introduced to this platform, is definitely one of the most powerful platforms you can ever use in terms of AI automation, especially doing things at scale, such as sales, research, even backend ops, as far as list aggregating, that sort of thing. And so think of it like Zapier and Google Sheets having a baby and on steroids. And so you could essentially do row by row automated requests, basically however you want. So the sky's the limit. I like to also say to people, it's like the Photoshop for data. You can basically do whatever you want, layer upon layer, or column on column, and basically mold data, no pun intended on xAI, but you can mold your data as you see fit. So with that, we're going to go into the endpoints here. And so we're doing a curl request. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to do likely a post request. So we're going to post that. And then these are headers here. So we're just going to go straight to the headers part, and we're going to do content type. I have found sometimes you actually don't need to type this in. If it's, depending on the API, it might be default of application JSON, but just for consistency's sake, we're just going to put this in here. And we're going to do that. And then from here, we're going to do authorization. So you'll notice when any sort of API, when you're doing anything with JSON, there's always going to be a key and then a value. You always have a key and a value, okay? Just like this, the key is role, the value is system. The key here is content, the value is you are Grok, chatbot inspired by Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that. So, and then one other thing that I did notice, it depends on the API. I'm still trying to figure it out as far as what xAI has done in the back end. But initially with HTTP API requests, and you'll see that here as we progress, when you're populating JSON into the body, usually the variables, it used to be that you have to put the variables here, whatever you insert, in quotes, which is true for proper JSON, right? But then for a while, then you no longer needed to put quotes in it, and then you'd get a 200 status code and you'd be just fine. However, as of late, and as you can see here, it is populated by the correct font, and so it feels more like an actual JSON, HTTP API request. And so we'll have to put the keys and the values as well inside quotes. So we'll find out where that goes. But we're going to do authorization, okay, and then we're going to do bearer. And then we're going to get the API key here. Let's see. Where are they at? Okay, let's see if it's not populated. All right, we're just going to delete it. We're going to get a new one. And again, if you're trying to use this API key, it ain't going to work by the time you watch this. So by all means, try it out. So anyway, we're going to do bearer and then space, and then we're going to put the API key in there. So then the fun stuff. Then we're going to go into the JSON. And essentially what I like to do is just copy everything up to the quotes, because you don't need the singular quote there. And then we're just going to paste it. And you will see here, role, system, content. Okay, so this is essentially the role. So when you're working with AI, I always talk about 3 things that you want to establish when you're doing prompt engineering. 3 things. You want to say who you are. So you're essentially telling the AI, the role or the persona that you're going. Then you want to define the task, and then you want to define the output. It's really, really important to define when you're prompting an AI model of essentially those three things, because that's going to give you the most control on what you actually get given back to you. So just as an example, and I talk to my clients about this all the time, essentially if you were to just type in, Chat GPT or something, why is the sky blue? You have no idea what it's going to tell you. It may give you hallucinating things. It could say all the things about the universe, and you never know. And then if I were to say something like, you are a kindergarten school teacher, explain to kindergarten students why the sky is blue, output why the sky is blue to these children. That is obviously going to be an answer that is entirely different than if I were to also say, you are a college professor at Stanford University, or, you're teaching college grads who are about to be scientists on why we're going to Mars soon, if you believe in that. Anyway, shout out to Elon Musk. But anyway, the output is going to be entirely different, right? So with that said, you always want to define the role, give it the task or parameters within that task, and then define the output of what you want, right? And so you can see here, this is in the JSON, the role of system, you are Grok, a chatbot inspired by Hitchhiker's Guide, okay? And then the prompt here, so we're going to use Grok Beta, and again, we're going on the fly here. So what is the answer to you know what? We're just going to run with this, and we're going to see what kind of response we get. So, because that'll also be able to tell us if things are live or not. So we will see what that looks like. All right, so sweet. First try, we get a 200 status code. And this is the JSON that we get back here. So you could see usage. You use 96 tokens, check completions, choices, and here is the message. Okay, the ultimate question. According to Hitchhiker's Guide, the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. Okay, so we can see here, well, definitely, in my opinion, when you're launching any sort of JSON or new API, usually I just like to take the sample JSON here. And the reason I do that, and I'll just run one column, or one row, I should say, not a column, because if something such as your API is off, like your token, or you could get a 400 error or 500 error, you'll be able to debug and figure out what the issue is, and then you can customize your actual prompt or your payload, if you will. The body here is called the payload. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say content, because this is obviously our prompt. We're going to say give me what you know about, and then we're going to put a variable here, full name, and we're going to say, this is interesting here. Okay, let's see. Should need expected. Interesting there. So this would be something. All right, let's see if I just did it again here. Yeah, because it's in quotes. So again, we're going live here, and it looks like it's going to run just fine. Okay, cool. So we're just going to make a little modification. This is kind of where you can refine the prompt here. What is the answer? Okay, what can you tell me about? And then we're just going to insert the variable, and then we're going to hit save and don't run. And now this is refining the prompt, right, to the actual of what the variable is. So it's going to say, what do you know about myself, Brandon Charles? And let's see what it gets. I don't know, knock on wood, hopefully some good information. Otherwise, you're talking shit about me. So, all right, cool. So, interesting. All right. Apparently, I'm a waiter at a restaurant at the end of the universe. So my role in the story is quite brief and memorable. I serve Arthur, Dent, and Ford Perfect. Okay. So you can see here, obviously there's a bit of humor to this, but why is this useful? Why would you want to use Grok? Well, there's a few things that come to my mind as far as why I would want to use it. Number one, it's a new LLM. Obviously, it comes from different data, primarily X or Twitter. So I did see in their feed, part of the X team, that they will be rolling out as part of their API grounding with real-time data that is on x.com. And so if you use X or you're familiar with X, obviously there's a lot of good data on there because it's real world, it's real time, and they claim about a lot of free speech and transparency, right? So it's always worth a try because different large language models are trained on different parts of data. And so you really just got to experiment and play with it. The other use case here is similar to Claude. Claude has been known, even for me, is it's really good and consistent when it comes to creative, like ad copy or things like that. When you're sending cold email, anything like that. Now, Grok obviously is very humorous because you could be, if you're familiar with Grok, you can do serious, you can do humor, things like that. So you never know, it might be able to contribute some inspirational messaging that you may not have thought of before. But nonetheless, in a very quick instance here, we got Grok. We are using Grok in Clay. So that is some good stuff there. If I were to say you are Grok, a chatbot inspired by history, so I could change the content here to say you are, a sales development representative for whatever. This is the role I'm talking about. You are, a research analyst researching a company. Let's get down to business, right? You are trying to explore all the things when it comes to, whatever you're trying to do, okay? So how do you use this, right? Well, number one, what you need to do is, first of all, get your API key, go ahead and register, and then you will see that, they're obviously, even that right there was not a bad query, but you can at least get it started, right? It's only a matter of time, in my opinion, and knowing how Clay's on fire, they're going to release this as an integration because it's wildly popular. But you can see very quickly how I was able to get it rolling right inside Clay. And then obviously I can use this in tables where, you're inserting the variable here. And this kind of proves what I'm talking about is the key and the value are actually in quotes, right? And so what I would do then is I would just, if I wanted to use this in other tables, you just save this as a template. And then I'm just going to say, I could say Grok and then uses Grok beta, right? And then from there, you could do two things. What I generally have done in the past is I will actually, so we'll save and not run. What I'll generally do is I will create a text column and I'll rename this to AI prompt. And then what I'll do is I'll hit edit and then I'll just say my prompt here. You are a sales development rep doing research, et cetera, et cetera. And then you put the variables here. So go to or look, do this for / full name. And then you can put all your variables in there, right? And then what you do is you save that. And this is obviously going to populate, across various things. So we'll do, things like this and, your sales development and things like that. So anyway, so what you want to do is, shout out to Peter. What you'll want to do is, just play with it. Obviously, I ran it for this, but this is how you use Grok at scale. And obviously, it could be hitting the rev limiter when it comes to the rate limits. So from my experience, if you start to get, you usually have different tiers, kind of like Anthropic and OpenAI. They have different tier levels based on rate limits. And with Clay, obviously, a lot of people are getting more and more familiar when it comes to Clay's unique use case, when it comes to API limits, rate limits anyway. And so with that, again, this template will be in the description. So I'll go ahead and release that. So hopefully you can just see right here and get playing with Grok. And again, they're offering $25 a month for free credit. So it's like, why not? So I'm curious how it's going to work for you, but that about wraps it up for me. I'm going to post definitely more content. It's been kind of a lull and things like that as far as getting things situated. But I really appreciate, you guys liking and sharing and subscribing and all that fun stuff. Just trying to provide as much value as possible. And so with that, if you haven't come across this channel, I post about all things AI automation. So you can obviously leverage the latest tech, especially AI, in your lives, both personally and professionally. So anyway, thanks for watching and take care.